everybody, it's Aurora coming at you with a brand new video, and tonight we got the final archetype out of deck build pack Justice Hunters revealed. The first being Dragon Tail, which is kind of just okay to everyone's knowledge currently. And then we have Yummy, which to my knowledge, I believe has around 5 one-card FTKs or something like that, and so that's cool. And the remaining archetype is called Canine. This is the last one to be revealed, and we'll see if it can match up with the rest of the archetypes in the set. I mean, for what I've been seeing, I haven't been spoiled for like the effects entirely or anything, but I've been seeing a lot of people already freaking out about this archetype, so I can only assume this is a Ryziel Malice situation in which 2 out of the 3 archetypes out of the side set are absolutely crazy. So let's go ahead and start off. We have Canine number 17, Izuna. Is a level 5 Earth Warrior effect monster, 2100 attack and 1600 defense. And you can only use the second and third effect of its name once per turn. If your opponent has 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon this card without tributing. During the main phase, if your opponent activated a monster effect in the hand or graveyard this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Canine card from your deck to the graveyard, except Izuna. So I've never been a huge fan of like cards that give you a choice between using one of the effects, essentially, because this either allows you to normal summon it or allows you to special summon it, both from hand, and I've just never really been a huge fan of that. It's like if a card had like a negate in hand, or like, it reminds me of Alistair, right? Alistair on normal summon adds the invocation, but also in hand you can discard it to give your thing 1000 attack, right? Which is really annoying because it's like, you couldn't have made it like, I don't know, banish from grave or something? I don't know. So something that just gives you an option between choosing 2 effects is kind of eh. Instead of being a Stratos, it is a Foolish Burial. I can't think of like too many things that like dump on normal summon or whatever, so I can't really give it like an example right there, but it does dump a Canine card from deck to the grave. It does say card, so maybe some other backer has some effects in the graveyard. The next monster is Canine number 66A, Yokel. It is a level 5 Dark Aqua with 2000 attack and 1900 defense. It says you can only use the second and third effect once per turn. If your opponent has 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon without tributing. You can reveal this card and 1 other level 5 monster in your hand, special summon both, but they cannot be used as material for the Xyz summon of a light monster. And during your main phase, you can add 1 non-Aqua Canine monster from your deck to your hand. So not being on summon is both a blessing and a curse, because a lot of the time if something's not in effect on summon, you don't get a lot of value out of it if your opponent has something like, say, removal. However, if that is the case, if they do use the removal, then maybe if you go through a second copy, it's a little bit easier, which is probably a little bit more likely with this card because it has, again, these 2 different summoning conditions. This time it's actually a little bit more beneficial. And I do like the alternative summoning condition. Being able to just summon out 2 things for basically free is really good, especially because considering it will probably trigger multiple effects there, though not being able to be used as material for the Xyz summon of a light monster is probably kind of gonna be used more for link plays, I guess. I don't know if they have links. I do know they have at least 2 Xyz monsters. That's like one of the only things I do know. And of course, Rhoda is always good. Moving on, we have Canine 66B, Lantern. It's a level 5 Dark Pyro with 2000 attack and 900 defense. If your opponent has 2 or more cards in hand, normal summon another tributing, blah blah blah. If it's in your hand, you can target 1 non-Pyro level 5 Canine in your grave, special summon it and this card, and it has the same restriction as the last one. And this one adds a Canine spell or trap from deck to hand. So these are clearly meant to be kind of like alternatives to each other. Both of them are Stratoses for different things. Both of them have these like same kind of restriction on their alternative summoning condition, and they do summon another monster out alongside themselves. This one's probably a little bit better in my opinion. Being able to revive something is a lot better than having to rely on having one in hand, so that's really sick. Though being able to open both of these would be really cool because then you can get a spell or trap search and a monster search. And their final main deck monster is Canine number 00, Lupus. It's a level 5 Earth Beast Warrior with 2000 attack and 200 defense, and you can only use the first and second effect once per turn. It says during the main phase, if your opponent activated a monster effect in the hand or graveyard this turn, quick effect, you can special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. See, this is what I thought the other one was going to have, being able to summon it from graveyard. During your opponent's turn, you can immediately after this effect resolves, Xyz summon using this card you control, and an Xyz monster that has this card as material gains this effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Always a huge fan of like cards that give Xyz monsters effects when they're material. I think that's really cool, though admittedly, it's unfortunate that specifically says that has this card, not that used this card, so it's not like a literalist situation. It's more like a Zodiac situation where it has to remain under it. Being able to quick Xyz and quick summon itself is really cool, so it's probably going to be kind of like Exo Sister levels of disruption on the opponent's turn when you Xyz summon, being able to like on summon, banish a card, something like that. And this one does have a lot of flexibility, being able to summon from hand or graveyard, and this one just straight up has a super easy condition in general, because it just says if your opponent activated a monster effect in the hand or grave. So the only time this isn't going to work is against like the Labyrinth or something, I don't know. Their first Xyz monster is K9 number 17 Ripper. This one's a rank 5 Wind Beast Warrior Xyz, so this one you actually can summon with materials that you summon off the other 2 level 5s in the main deck. It has 2300 attack and 1800 defense. It requires 2 level 5 monsters. You can only use each effect once per turn. You can detach 1 material from it to add a K9 card from your deck to your hand. Then if your opponent activated a monster effect this turn, you can set 1 K9 quick play spell from your deck or graveyard. When your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or graveyard quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card to negate that effect. So this is pretty cool at stopping hand traps, or kind of like punishing hand traps, because it gets you additional things. I guess that's why I mentioned like Ash Blossom, I guess, at the beginning of this article. And so I think that is pretty cool, and I think that it's cool that it's a card that kind of like, what's the word, encourages like more mid to late turn gameplay around hand traps, as opposed to just being like a straight up, hey, this is a Called by the Grave or something like that, your hand trap doesn't work on me, or this is a cross out. It's like, okay, I can get through one hand trap to get into this rank 5, and now I can actually get through a different hand trap, which is really cool. Watch out for Imperm though. This deck so far, it kind of struggles with Imperm unless you have exactly Lupus under this. If you have Lupus under this, that's actually sick, so you should be fine there. Their second Xyz is K9 number 00 Hound. It's a rank 5 light apparently. Ooh. Light squared, Beast Warrior Xyz with 2500 attack and defense. It requires 2 level 5s. It cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects the turn it is special summon. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, it gains 500 attack when that effect resolves. And once per turn during the standby phase, you can attach 1 material from this card and then target 1 card in the field and banish it. So I guess the idea is to kind of treat this like a Wolf Rayet almost, where like you want to summon it on your opponent's turn or something, or just have it there on your opponent's turn and it just keeps getting attack and attack and attack and attack. And this actually doesn't have like a cap or anything like that, so this can get absolutely massive. Something like this typically starts at like 0, but it starts with 2500 already, so that's pretty cool. Not to mention it has the protection. I kind of really like this, not gonna lie. Especially if you combine it with Lupus, it can't be targeted, though it does still die to some other removal. Think of like Tri-Brigade Sherd, right? It's a non-targeting banish, and so that can end up being really bad. And also, if you don't have Lupus, this card just kind of sucks. I also am not a huge fan of this only being during the standby phase, because you'd think you'd want it to be during like the main phase, or maybe even like the battle phase or something, to encourage more play with Lupus, because your opponent's not going to use a monster effect during their draw or standby to allow you to summon Lupus on their turn and then immediately Xyz. You have to already have the Lupus on the board. So that could have been a little better, but let's hope the next one is even better, because this is the one everyone seems to be freaking out about, not just because of the effect, but because look at that like furry bait artwork right there. It's called K9EX Werewolf. It's a rank 9 light beast warrior Xyz with 3300 attack and 2500 defense that requires 2 level 9 monsters. You can only use the second effect once per turn. If it has material, or while it has material, sorry, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of materials attached to it. Assemble Nightingale, my beloved. And when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can attach 1 material from this card, then activate this effect based on whose turn it is. Yours, banish 1 card from your opponent controls and or 1 card from their graveyard. If it's your opponent's turn, you look at your opponent's hand and banish 1 card from it face up until the end phase. Okay, I think people are freaking out a little bit too much about this card, but it is definitely pretty solid. So being able to attack multiple times is really sick, especially if it's an archetype that can pump a lot of materials onto a dude, especially also with its massive 3300 attack stat, can't speak tonight, and if they have additional ways to make something gain attack. It's also very reactive. It's not just something that you can use like immediately for the second effect. Your opponent has to do something first, and it is Carter effect, granted, not monster effect like the other ones, but it still requires something, and it's not like detonator or anything, so it is a hard once per turn, and it being the like hand banish on the opponent's turn makes it significantly less scary than everyone was making it out to be, because I saw something about hand rips and I was like, oh god, a hand rip deck coming from the Mermail player. And the fact that it's literally just Deep Sea Minstrel, but only on their turn and only after they use something, and just being until the end phase, It's not, like, insane to me, but getting hand knowledge is definitely good. But I think overall this card isn't, like, ridiculous. Definitely a very solid boss monster, though, if they can get into it easily. Their first spell card is Canine LC Liberation. It's a quick play. That means you can set it off of the rank 5, or the first one, I should say. It says you can only use each effect once per turn. Target 1 Canine Xyz or rank 5 Xyz you control. Special 1 Canine Xyz monster with a different name from your extra deck by using that monster you control as material. This is treated as an Xyz summon and transfers materials to the summon monster. And at the end of the battle phase, if your canine monster battled this turn, you can set this card for your graveyard. So this is just that one Exo Sister card that just slaps a new one on top of the one already there, so there's my answer. They can get into Werewolf incredibly easy. I think the second effect to reset it is pretty cool too. So you can't like immediately use it because it is a quick play and it's at the end of the battle phase anyway, but you can have it on your next turn so that you can actually tag out the Werewolf even if you wanted to in order to go into something like maybe the Hound, because I think the Hound is pretty cool. Moving on, we have Canine EX Forced Liberation. It's a quick play that says you can only use each effect once per turn. It has the same second effect, by the way, but the first effect says during the main phase, target 1 Canine Xyz you control, especially a Canine Xyz with a different name from your extra deck by using that monster you control as material. Then you can destroy one card your opponent controls. So these are essentially the same card, but this one up here doesn't have to be during the main phase and can work on any rank 5 you control, not just a Canine. You can even go for something like an Artifact Durandal or something, I guess, randomly. Someone was talking about that on Twitter. But this one, while it is only during the main phase and only works on Canines, does allow you to non-target pop a card, so it actually is a disruption as well on top of going into the Werewolf. I think that's really sick, honestly. Their final card and only trap card is Canine EW or EU Experimental Liberation. It's a normal trap that says you can only use each effect once per turn. Special summon a canine monster from your hand or grave, then you can special a canine Xyz monster from your extra deck by using the first monster as material. The second special summon is treated as an Xyz summon, but destroy the second monster during the end phase of the next turn. And during the end phase, you can banish it from your grave, then target a canine quick play spell in your graveyard and set it. So this is another way of getting an Xyz monster on board, but this one works on an empty board, which is pretty sick. Destroying the monster is kind of annoying, but you probably have like a bunch of different things you can do with it while it's in your graveyard. And then the graveyard effect is actually really cool as well. It kind of reminds me of like an Eldritch card during the end phase, banish it to do something. Being able to reset one of your canine quick plays without having to have the battle phase effect is pretty cool. Can kind of help you recover from like board breakers or something like that. Okay, that is the canine archetype. What do I think about it? I think it's just, it's pretty standard, honestly. There's nothing like super crazy going on with it that we really haven't seen explored, in my opinion. Nothing like super unique or anything. But I think it's pretty neat. The summon conditions are kind of weird because they have the two different summoning conditions, and I know I said that I don't like when you have like different options, but it's kind of not bad in this archetype because all of them do that. So basically, if you're going first, you can just guarantee you have this live, and then these second effects are a little bit more situational, so these cards aren't bricks while they're in your hand, so you can just like normal summon them if you want. And also, because they have these alt summoning conditions, they're not bricks if your opponent doesn't have 2 or more cards in hand. So I retract my statement from earlier. I'm not like super annoyed by that anymore because, well, all of them have it, and that makes it a little bit more balanced out. I do like that they have some decent swarming, being able to summon monsters from hand or graveyard with certain effects. They have decent consistency. They have ways to dump stuff, which, come to think of it, is kind of only good for the back row. Or I guess you could go like, if you open Azuna and Lantern, you can go Azuna, dump Yokel, and then have Lantern revive the Yokel, get the double search. So that actually also works. So that could be pretty cool. Really like Lupus. Again, love things that give Xyz monsters effects while they're under them. Being able to bait out interaction, or get out interaction on your opponent's turn, I should say, is really cool. Ripper is cool for punishing your opponent for activating monster effects without being super broken, like something like Thrust or Talents. And then the other Xyz monsters, I think Hound is really funny, even if he's not like the most broken card in the world or anything. And I think that Werewolf, while very strong, was getting a little bit overreacted to, but I think it is definitely a very solid boss monster. And I do like the whole theme that the deck has with kind of like, not exactly like hard punishing your opponent for using monster effects and interacting with you, but kind of making them like reconsider using certain effects in certain orders. Again, kind of like something like Talents, but not being as crazy as Talents in my opinion. And I do find it really funny that basically all of their back row revolves around getting more Xyz monsters out. But it is kind of annoying because none of these really provide like any protection, any extension, except for I guess technically the trap card's an extender if you already have it set. I don't know. None of them are really good at like starting or anything like that. So you have to kind of rely on like hard opening your things. They don't have like a field spell that Ro does or something like that. So I don't know, that could be kind of annoying. Also, only being able to go into Ripper is kind of annoying with your dudes here if you use the special summon effects, but you probably don't have to worry about it like too much if you just normal summon them. But again, keep in mind, you can only get one normal summon per turn. They don't have like a back row that says you can normal summon an additional time or something, which would be a lot better. So I feel like we're definitely probably missing a card from the archetype. We usually get like 1 or 2 cards that aren't revealed with the initial wave, kind of like how Dragon Tail just got theirs, which is a monster negate, which made it a little better. But I don't know, I think this is definitely like cool. I don't think it's like super broken or anything. I think some people were going a little bit too crazy, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below, because that's gonna do it for the video. If you liked it, please sure to leave a like, as I'll put this video and the channel into the YouTube recommended, and Alex content or something like it, like the rest of my review series and stuff like that. Then perhaps consider subscribing if you aren't already, and turn notifications, because it's the easiest way to support the channel and it's absolutely free. But if you want to support me more financially, then you want to get some awesome perks in the process, check out my Patreon down in the description below to see what you can get for my $1 and $5 tiers. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Aurora, signing off.